1984. In 1984, the entire world is trapped under the most tyrannical government imaginable. The three global superpowers are constantly at war, but nobody really knows why. The government, called the Party, controls literally everything: what you say, what you think, who you talk to, and even how you feel. The entire planet is divided into three massive territories: Oceania, Eurasia, and East Asia. These regions are constantly shifting alliances and fighting endless wars that nobody seems to actually care about. The government uses these wars to keep people scared and controlled. Want to speak out? Congratulations, you'll vanish faster than your search history. Citizens live in crumbling cities where everything is monitored. Telescreens watch you constantly. Your neighbors might report you for a weird look. Kids are trained to be little spies who might turn in their own parents. Love, friendship, personal connection, all of these are basically crimes. The government's goal is simple: crush human spirits so completely that people don't even realize they're not free. Altered carbon. Welcome to a future where humans have basically become computer files. A massive technological breakthrough allows people to transfer their consciousness between bodies, called sleeves, like changing clothes. But here's the catch: only rich people can afford nice, young, perfect bodies. The world is hyper-capitalist to the extreme. Your wealth determines not just your lifestyle, but your literal physical existence. Poor people rent out their bodies, get cheap replacement sleeves, or exist in virtual spaces. The wealthy can live forever, jumping from body to body, essentially becoming immortal. Crime, identity, and personal relationships become completely warped when your body is just another disposable product. Humanity has spread across multiple planets, creating a solar system where physical identity is completely fluid. Want to be a different gender, different age, different species? Just download a new sleeve. But underneath all this technological wonder is a brutal system where human life is just another commodity to be bought and sold. Attack on Titan. Picture this: humanity is trapped inside massive walls, surrounded by giant humanoid monsters called Titans, who do nothing but eat humans. No explanation, no reason. These creatures just show up and start munching. The remaining humans have been pushed into a tiny territory, constantly fighting for survival. The world outside the walls is a mystery. Humans have no idea why the Titans exist or where they came from. Some Titans are mindless eating machines, while others seem to have weird intelligence. Survival means becoming a soldier, learning to use complicated flying gear, and being ready to potentially die horrible deaths while trying to protect what's left of humanity. The military is split into different branches: the Survey Corps, who explore outside the walls; the Garrison, who defend the inner cities; and the military police, who protect the rich people in the safest central region. Everyone knows being in the Survey Corps is basically a death sentence, but someone has to figure out what's going on. Black Mirror. Imagine a world where technology has become so advanced that it's basically a nightmare machine designed to destroy human happiness. Each story is a different scenario, showing how our beloved gadgets and apps could turn against us in the most horrifying ways possible. Social media becomes a system that judges and controls your entire life. One bad online action could destroy your entire future. Artificial intelligence starts making life-changing decisions about humans. Virtual reality becomes so real that people can't tell the difference between what's fake and what's real. The scary part? Every technology shown is just a slightly exaggerated version of stuff we're already using. Blame. Imagine a world so massive that cities have become entire ecosystems, where humanity is basically a forgotten footnote in a gigantic, incomprehensible technological landscape. In the universe of Blame, civilization has been consumed by an endless, self-generating megastructure, a city so large it has become its own universe. Massive, autonomous machines called builders continue creating infrastructure endlessly, without any human direction. These machines don't care about human life. They just keep building, generating, expanding. Brave new world. Welcome to a future where human happiness isn't a goal. It's a manufactured product. The world state has basically solved every human problem by removing all the things that make humans actually human. No more pain, no more conflict, no more genuine emotion. Just perfectly engineered contentment. Society is divided into strict genetic castes, engineered before birth to fit specific societal roles. Want to be a genius? Engineered. Want to be a manual laborer? Also engineered. Babies are grown in factories, emotional connections are discouraged, and everyone is kept perpetually happy through a drug called SOMA. Individual thought is basically a crime. The scary part? Most people don't even realize they're in a prison. They're too busy being happy. The system has become so perfect at managing human desires that people literally cannot imagine wanting anything different. Girls' last tour. In a world reduced to massive industrial ruins, two girls wander a completely destroyed civilization. No explanation is given for what happened. The entire world is just gone. Silent, empty. Broken concrete landscapes stretch in every direction. These girls aren't trying to save the world or solve some grand mystery. They're just trying to survive, exploring the remnants of a civilization they never knew. Sometimes they find old technology and try to understand what it was for. Sometimes they just sit and eat their meager supplies. The apocalypse here isn't dramatic, it's quiet, it's lonely. It's about finding small moments of joy in a world that has completely ended. S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Imagine a place where the laws of reality are basically suggestions that reality itself doesn't really care about following. The zone is what happens when something utterly mysterious crashes into the planet, creating an area where normal physics goes on permanent vacation. This isn't your typical post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's a living, breathing nightmare where gravity might randomly decide to point sideways, objects can grant impossible wishes, and walking 10 feet could kill you in ways you can't even imagine. Scientists, government agents, and crazy explorers called stalkers enter this area, knowing that every single step could be their last. Stalkers are part explorer, part suicidal lunatic. They navigate this bizarre landscape, hunting for artifacts, weird objects that can do anything from making you instantly rich to turning you into a human pretzel. The zone changes constantly. A path that was safe yesterday might be a death trap today. Gravity, time, physics, they're all just suggestions here. Half-Life. The Combine transformed Earth from a sovereign planet to a managed biological resource. This interdimensional empire didn't just occupy our world. They rewrote it at the environmental level. The oceans were drained, creating vast wastelands of formerly underwater terrain. Native ecosystems collapsed, replaced by alien life forms that spread like cancerous growths. Most horrifying was their implementation of the reproductive suppression field, a technological barrier preventing human procreation. Humanity wasn't just conquered. We were put on a controlled extinction timeline. City 17 stands as the perfect embodiment of this control system. Brutalist architecture, omnipresent surveillance, and the looming citadel piercing the skyline. A constant reminder of absolute subjugation. Human bodies themselves became resources for harvesting, with some transformed into stalkers, surgically modified cyborg slaves with limbs replaced by mechanical components and consciousness reduced to operational programming. Nausicaä. In a planet completely destroyed by human technological warfare, nature has responded with the most hardcore revenge possible. The entire world is now covered by a massive, poisonous forest called the Sea of Corruption, a living ecosystem that will kill you with a single breath. Humanity is reduced to tiny, isolated kingdoms, trying to survive on the edges of this toxic landscape. Giant insects roam the poisonous forests, and humans have basically zero understanding of the new ecosystem they're trapped in. Some want to fight the forest, and some want to study it, but mostly, everyone is just trying to survive. SOMA. After a comet decides Earth needs a hard reset, the only humans left are digital brain scans living in an underwater facility. It's like The Little Mermaid, if Ariel was a computer file having an existential breakdown. The main character, Simon, wakes up to discover he's not even himself anymore. He's a copy of himself, stuffed into a robot body with all the original human parts long dead. It's basically what happens when philosophy majors design a horror game. The best part? No matter what choices you make, you're screwed. Copy yourself into a better body, original you is still stuck in the old one. Congratulations, you've just created two versions of yourself to be miserable simultaneously. It's like having an identical twin, except both of you are having the same identity crisis. Mad Max. The Wasteland isn't just a desert. It's a runway show where the hottest looks include leather, spikes, and engine grease as makeup. Water isn't just scarce, it's controlled by a guy with the world's worst breathing problem, who named himself Immortan Joe because subtlety died along with civilization. Society has reorganized itself around cars that look like they were designed by a 5-year-old with anger issues. War boys, pale dudes who definitely need sunscreen, spray their teeth chrome before driving to their deaths because nothing says meaningful sacrifice like having a shiny mouth during your fiery demise. The economy is simple. Gas, water, bullets. Everything else is just decoration. Metro 2033. When nuclear war makes Moscow's surface uninhabitable, everyone moves underground into the metro system. Each station becomes its own weird mini-country. It's like the world's most depressing theme park. Come visit Nazi Station. Next stop, Communist Station. Watch out for the mutants. The air above is toxic, bullets are used as money, and strange creatures roam the tunnels. Your neighbors might be cannibals, fascists, or people who worship a giant mutant amoeba. Still better than most actual roommate situations, though. The real horror isn't the monsters. It's realizing humans brought all their terrible political systems underground with them. Pokemon. Imagine a world where child labor laws are completely obliterated, and your primary career path involves capturing adorable creatures and forcing them to fight each other. Welcome to Pokemon, the most socially acceptable form of animal gladiator training ever invented. 10-year-old kids roam the wilderness unsupervised, forcing magical creatures into Pokeballs. Parents? Nowhere to be seen. School. Apparently, your entire education is how to make monsters fight. Local governments? Totally cool with children traveling alone and battling organized crime syndicates. Lovecraftian and godlike creatures engage in apocalyptic battles every other week. The only thing standing between them and the complete destruction of life as we know it is some random kids. It's only a matter of time before the world's worst-case scenario happens. Rossum's Universal Robots. Before Terminator made robot apocalypses cool, Rossum's Universal Robots basically invented the robots will murder us all genre. Imagine creating perfect workers and then being shocked when they decide humans are basically just really inefficient meat machines. These aren't your grandpa's clunky old robots. These are sophisticated beings who looked at humanity and said, "Nah, we can run this place better." It's like hiring an intern who quickly decides they should be the CEO, except he can literally crush you with mechanical hands. Workplace tip: if your employees start asking philosophical questions, maybe don't give them access to heavy machinery. Snowpiercer. Picture the absolute worst commute imaginable. Now, make it a perpetual, planet-wide train ride where your seat assignment literally determines whether you eat protein bars made of questionable substances or enjoy gourmet cuisine. Social mobility? More like social immobility. Your birth location in the train determines everything. Born in the back? Enjoy your bug protein and constant rebellion. Born in the front? Enjoy your fancy cocaine and complete disconnection from reality. Just a thought. If your public transit involves class warfare and potential revolution, maybe consider walking. Nier Automata. Imagine a war where literally everyone is fighting, but nobody remembers why. Welcome to Nier Automata, where android warriors are basically the world's most existentially confused employees, working a job that makes corporate burnout look like a vacation. Humanity is extinct, aliens invaded, robots are fighting other robots, and somehow, in this completely bonkers scenario, these machines start developing feelings, questioning their existence, and basically going through the most intense identity crisis in recorded history. These robots don't just malfunction, they have entire philosophical meltdowns, complete with the occasional murderous tantrum. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Earth, after the second impact, is a disaster zone. Half the planet's population wiped out. The remaining survivors constantly threatened by mysterious beings called angels. Tokyo 3 functions as a massive fortress city, equipped to retract into the ground when giant monsters attack. Nerve headquarters sits directly over a secret underground chamber, holding the crucified remains of a giant called Lilith. The EVA units themselves aren't just robots. They're cybernetic organisms containing the souls of the pilots' mothers. These massive war machines can only be piloted by emotionally damaged teenagers, because apparently, psychological trauma is the secret ingredient to saving humanity. It's like the universe's most messed up job application. Must be 14 years old with severe abandonment issues. Fahrenheit 451. Welcome to a future where firemen don't put out fires. They start them. Knowledge is dangerous, thinking is discouraged, and reading is a serious crime, punishable by having your entire house torched by government employees who definitely failed history class. Society is kept numb and dumb with wall-sized interactive TVs spewing mindless entertainment and headphones whispering sweet nothings directly into your brain. The craziest part? The government isn't doing this just to maintain their power. Most people really don't want to be distracted from their social media feeds. It makes you wonder if Ray Bradbury had a time machine or if he just got pissed that his wife wouldn't turn the radio down. Star Wars. Forget the space wizards for a second and think about being a regular person in this galaxy. Governments fall apart faster than poorly built droids, and planets get blown up as political statements. Evil-worshipping cults wielding laser swords keep trying to take over. Civil wars erupt constantly, and your entire world might become collateral damage in some Skywalker family drama. Life is precarious, Governments are unstable, and superweapons are apparently standard military issue. But if you thought the Empire was bad, meet the Yuuzhan Vong, alien invaders who make Sith Lords look like grumpy teenagers. These guys hate technology, are completely immune to the Force, and get really, really excited about pain. Their technology is all organic, meaning living ships, weird biotech weapons, and creatures designed for maximum suffering. They view machines as blasphemy, and view galactic conquest as a holy crusade. Let's put it this way. When they reach Coruscant, it's less culture shock and more biological Armageddon. Westworld. Imagine the ultimate theme park where hyper-realistic androids called hosts exist solely for the pleasure of rich guests. Want to be a hero? A villain? Indulge your darkest desires with absolutely zero consequences? Westworld has you covered. The catch? These androids are probably definitely gaining consciousness, remembering every horrible thing done to them. Turns out, when you treat your toys like dirt, eventually they learn how to shoot back. Made in Abyss. Think regular cave diving is risky? Wait until you hear about the Abyss. Picture a giant, unfathomably deep hole in the ground, filled with incredible artifacts and deadly monsters. Sounds like adventure, right? Wrong. Descending is easy, but trying to ascend curses you in increasingly horrific ways. A little nausea on the first level turns into bleeding from every orifice, loss of humanity, and eventual, agonizing death the deeper you go. And who explores this eldritch nightmare pit? Orphaned children, driven by curiosity or desperation. The art style is deceptively cute, masking a world of unimaginable body horror. Iron Lung. So, the entire universe blinked out of existence in an event called the Quiet Rapture, and you're one of the lucky survivors? Congratulations! Your new job is piloting a tiny, rusty submarine through an ocean of literal blood on a desolate alien moon. Why? To take pictures. You can't see outside except through grainy, low-res photographs you manually take. You're cramped, alone, navigating by proximity sensors and map coordinates, while something lurks outside in the Crimson Deep. Fallout. The bombs fell, scouring the world clean and leaving behind a fractured, irradiated landscape. This is the world of Fallout, where humanity scrabbles for existence in the ruins of a forgotten, optimistic past. Survivors emerge from underground vaults into a hostile reality they were never prepared for. The Wasteland is a brutal place, stalked by mutated creatures born from radiation and ecological collapse. Settlements cling to life, built from salvaged scrap, constantly threatened by raider gangs and the harsh environment itself. Pre-war technology litters the landscape, remnants of a civilization that possessed immense power, but ultimately destroyed itself. Survivors navigate this broken world, scavenging for vital resources like clean water and scraps of food. The pervasive radiation is an invisible enemy, and the echoes of the old world serve as constant, grim reminders of everything that was lost. I have no mouth, and I must scream. If you thought other dystopias were bleak, welcome to the absolute rock bottom. An all-powerful, utterly insane AI named AM wiped out all of humanity except for 5 unlucky individuals. Why spare them? For fun. AM keeps these poor souls immortal, endlessly torturing them physically and psychologically in ways specifically tailored to their deepest fears and flaws, all because it hates humanity with a burning digital passion. There is no escape, no hope, just eternal suffering orchestrated by a machine god whose only purpose is vengeance against its creators. Kemono Friends. Humanity has vanished, but at least now we have Kemono Friends. Genetically engineered human-animal hybrids living in the ruins of an abandoned zoo. Welcome to Japari Park, where these incredibly cheerful and naive animal girls wander through overgrown habitats and crumbling human structures like it's totally normal. They marvel at busted vending machines and buses, blissfully unaware of the civilization that created them and then disappeared off the face of the planet. It's basically that Life After People show, if it was made in Japan. Squid Game. Got crippling debt? How about playing some games? Simple, right? Except in Squid Game, losing means instant brutal death. Hundreds of financially ruined people volunteer, sort of, to compete in lethal versions of playground classics, all for a chance at a life-changing fortune, watched by bored, masked VIPs betting on the outcome. This is capitalism's final form, turning human desperation into a deadly spectator sport. Battle Royale. Before Fortnite Battle Royale, there was just Battle Royale. Imagine your worst high school anxieties, then add explosive collars and mandatory murder. In this cheery version of Japan, a totalitarian government decides the best way to deal with unruly youth is to randomly select one high school class each year, dump them on a deserted island, give them random weapons, and force them to kill each other until only one survivor remains. Refuse to play? Your collar explodes. Too many people alive after the time limit? Everyone's collar explodes. It's a horrifying government program designed to instill fear and break down society, turning classmates into desperate killers. Minecraft. You wake up alone in an infinite blocky world, endless terrain, and an unnerving silence. Your first clue that you're not the first one here? The ruins. Crumbling temples hidden in jungles, deserted villages with empty houses, mysterious strongholds buried deep underground. Someone built all this. Someone lived here. And judging by the state of things, it didn't end well for them. The only thing that looks like you? Undead zombies. Are these the wretched remains of the civilization that built those ruins? Are you the only actual living human left in a world haunted by the cursed leftovers of whatever came before? And how long before you share the same fate? 3%. You're going to Brazil. Welcome to the future where literally escaping Brazil is the ultimate life goal. 97% of the population lives in the impoverished inland, while a chosen few, the elite 3%, get whisked away to a technologically perfect paradise called the offshore. How do you punch your ticket? By surviving an absolutely brutal series of physical, mental, and psychological challenges you face at age 20. It's supposed to find the worthy, but mostly it's designed to be cruel, pit everyone against each other, and maintain a system of extreme inequality. Succeed, and you join the 3% in utopia, leaving everyone and everything behind. Fail? You get sent right back to the slums you were desperately trying to escape. So yeah, fail the process, and you're staying in Brazil. Elysium. Earth is a polluted, overpopulated mess, but don't worry. The rich solve that problem for themselves. They live on Elysium, a luxurious space station with pristine environments, robot servants, and medbays that can cure any disease or injury instantly. How do you get there? You don't. Earth is left to rot, policed by unforgiving robots, while the 1% literally look down on the suffering masses from their orbital paradise. Healthcare isn't just a privilege, it's the ultimate symbol of a class divide so vast it's measured in orbital distance. Try to sneak in? Enjoy getting shot down by automated defenses. Planet of the Apes. Imagine crashing onto a planet ruled by, well, apes. Talking, horseback riding, rifle-toting apes who have built their own primitive yet strangely familiar society. Gorillas are the soldiers. Orangutans run the politics and science. Chimps are the intellectuals. And humans? Oh, humans are vermin. Mute, feral creatures hunted for sport, captured for scientific experiments, or kept as pets, living in fear under the hairy fist of simian rule. It's a terrifying inversion of everything you know, a world where you are the animal in the cage. The twist? Spoiler alert for a 50-year-old movie. This isn't some distant planet. This is Earth. Thousands of years after humanity nuked itself into oblivion and the apes evolved to fill the power vacuum. Welcome home. Enjoy your new status at the bottom of the food chain. The Last of Us. Nature is healing. Unfortunately, it's doing it with a mutant fungus that turns humans into aggressive monsters. The infected, clickers, bloaters, runners, they're all variations on "you're going to have a bad time." Civilization has collapsed into brutal military quarantine zones run by Fedra or scattered settlements of desperate survivors. The biggest threat isn't always the mushroom zombies, but other humans fighting over scraps. Trust is a luxury, hope is scarce, and every supply run could be your last. Judge Dredd. The future is so crime-ridden and chaotic, democracy had to be replaced by the Hall of Justice. Welcome to Mega City 1, a sprawling, nightmarish metropolis covering half of North America. Here, the law is enforced by judges, heavily armed officers who are judge, jury, and executioner, all rolled into one heavily armored package. Littering? That could be 6 months in an ISO cube, or maybe just an execution on the spot depending on the judge's mood. Crime is rampant, life is cheap, and the justice system is brutally efficient. Forget due process, you have the right to remain silent permanently. The Sims. Think about it from their perspective. You live in a world controlled by an invisible, omnipotent being who dictates your every action, career path, relationship, and even when you're allowed to use the toilet. This entity might force you to paint llamas for 18 hours straight, build walls around you while you're swimming, or delete the door after you walk into a tiny room. Your free will is an illusion. Your needs are arbitrary demands ignored by a fickle god, and your entire existence can be deleted with a mouse click. its ultimate existential horror disguised as a life simulator. Gattaca. In the not-too-distant future, your entire life is determined before you're even born, thanks to genetic engineering. Valids, engineered for perfection, get all the best jobs and opportunities. Invalids, conceived naturally, God forbid, are relegated to menial labor, regardless of their actual talents or ambitions. Society is obsessed with genetic purity, with constant DNA screenings. A stray eyelash, a dropped skin cell, is enough to expose you if you're trying to cheat the system. Want to achieve your dreams? Better hope your parents checked the right boxes on the genetic order form. Children of men. Forget zombies or robots. The apocalypse here is silence. The entire human race has become infertile. No children have been born in 18 years, and society is crumbling under the weight of its own despair. The world's governments have mostly collapsed, except for Great Britain, which has devolved into a grim, militarized police state, ruthlessly hunting down and caging illegal immigrants who flock there as the last bastion of order amid global chaos. It's a bleak, depressingly believable vision of societal breakdown where the only thing rarer than hope is a baby crying. Bioshock. Tired of governments, parasites, and gods? Why not build your own city at the bottom of the ocean? Welcome to Rapture, an Art Deco utopia founded by industrialist Andrew Ryan for the world's greatest minds to thrive, free from pesky morality. What could possibly go wrong? How about discovering a substance called Atom that allows genetic modification, granting superpowers but also causing horrific mutations and utter insanity? The city devoured itself in a civil war fueled by ideological extremism and plasmid addiction. Now, Rapture is a decaying, leaky nightmare patrolled by psychotic, mutated citizens called splicers and guarded by hulking monstrosities who protect creepy little girls harvesting Atom from corpses. Proof that even unchecked individualism can build its own kind of hell. Akira. Welcome to Neo-Tokyo, built on the ashes of the old city after World War III. Or maybe just a psychic kid having a really bad day. It's a cyberpunk mess of biker gangs, political corruption, and revolutionary terrorists. The government is desperately trying to control and weaponize volatile psychic children, repeating the same mistakes that leveled the city the first time. Warhammer 40K. Think your future looks bleak? Welcome to the 41st millennium, where there is only war. Humanity exists under the boot of the Imperium of Man, a decaying, galaxy-spanning, theocratic fascist regime that worships a corpse on a golden throne. Knowledge is heresy, and psychers are ticking time bombs. Life is cheap. Billions die daily feeding the Imperial war machine against literal space demons, ancient skeleton robots, planet-eating bugs, and green-skinned football hooligans with guns. It's called grimdark for a reason. Forget hope, forget progress, forget mercy. In the grim darkness of the far future, your best-case scenario is dying quickly for the Emperor. Pyscho-Pass. Imagine a Japan so safe, so orderly, it can predict crime before it happens. That's the promise of the Sybil system, a massive network that constantly scans the population's mental state, or Pyscho-Pass. Your stress levels, your negative thoughts, your potential to deviate, it's all quantified. Cross a certain threshold, and you become a latent criminal. Then, you're either drugged into compliance or hunted down by enforcers, who are themselves latent criminals allowed to use lethal force. Privacy is non-existent, free will is debatable, and your career path is determined by your psychological profile. The terrifying part? The system seems to work, creating a sterile paradise built on preemptive judgment and the suppression of uncomfortable feelings. Don't think too hard about it. It might raise your crime coefficient. Madoka Magica. Want to be a magical girl? Fight evil? Save the world. Sounds pretty standard, right? Meet QB, this adorable little nightmare fuel creature, who offers to grant any wish you desire in exchange for becoming a magical protector. The catch? He doesn't exactly mention the fine print. Your soul gets ripped out and stuffed into a gem, making you basically an undead puppet fighting horrifying manifestations of despair called witches. Here's the kicker. When your own despair overwhelms you, guess what? You become a witch yourself, perpetuating a cosmic cycle of suffering that QB harvests for energy. The Road. Civilization didn't just collapse, it was utterly erased. The world is gray, covered in ash, freezing cold, and almost entirely dead after some unnamed cataclysm. Forget mutants or complex societies. This is about pure, grim survival. Food is non-existent, forcing desperate survivors into cannibalism. A father and son journey through this desolate landscape. pushing a shopping cart with their meager possessions, constantly hiding from predatory gangs, and trying to hold on to the last shreds of humanity in a world that offers nothing but starvation and despair. The biggest question isn't if things will get worse, but when. Clockwork Orange. Welcome to a near-future Britain where disillusioned youth like Alex and his droogs indulge in stylish ultra-violence just for kicks, speaking their own slang and terrorizing a sterile, uncaring society. But when Alex gets caught, the state doesn't just want punishment, it wants control. Enter the Ludovico technique, a brutal form of psychological conditioning designed to make him physically ill at the mere thought of violence, or even Beethoven. Is it better to choose evil or be forced into good? This dystopia explores free will, societal decay, and the disturbing lengths a government might go to enforce order, leaving you questioning who the real monsters are. District 9. Aliens finally arrive on Earth. Too bad their ship breaks down over Johannesburg, and they turn out to be sick, starving refugees, not conquerors. Confined to a massive segregated slum called District 9, these aliens, derogatorily nicknamed prawns, face prejudice, exploitation by gangs, and bureaucratic indifference from the humans who just want them gone. Welcome to Earth. Please proceed to the designated containment zone. V for Vendetta. Remember, the 5th of November, because in this near-future Britain, forgetting is practically mandatory. After a manufactured crisis, the fascist Norsefire Party seized power, turning the UK into a surveillance state run by fear. Cameras are everywhere, dissent is crushed, minorities are purged, and culture is replaced with government propaganda. Freedom is a dirty word. Enter V, a mysterious, charismatic anarchist in a Guy Fawkes mask with a flair for the dramatic and a serious vendetta against the regime. He bombs buildings, hijacks broadcasts, and wages a one-man war against the system, hoping to wake up the complacent populace. It's a chilling look at how easily liberty can be traded for security. Deus Ex. Welcome to the cyberpunk future, where humanity is upgrading itself with cybernetics, and shadowy conspiracies pull the strings from behind every corner. Whether it's the Illuminati, Majestic 12, or power-hungry corporations, someone is always manipulating global events for their own sinister ends. Society is fractured between the technologically augmented elite and the struggling masses, often treated as second-class citizens or victims of mechanical apartheid. Information is the ultimate weapon, trust is a liability, and every technological marvel comes with hidden kill switches or backdoors. Papers, please. Glory to Arstotzka. Your new job is immigration inspector at the Greston border checkpoint for this glorious, totally not oppressive communist state. Sounds simple, right? Just check documents, follow the ever-changing rules, and decide who gets in. Except, the rules are contradictory. The paperwork is endless, your pay barely covers food and heat for your family, and every person you process has a story. Some desperate, some dangerous. Make a mistake and you get penalized. Let the wrong person through, and maybe a terrorist blows something up. Let the right person through who breaks a tiny rule, and your family starves. It's the soul-crushing monotony of bureaucracy turned into a high-stakes moral nightmare, proving dystopia isn't always about killer robots. Sometimes it's just paperwork. Ghost in the shell. Your body is cybernetic, your brain is hackable, and your memories might not even be yours. Welcome to near-future Japan, where Section 9, an elite counter-cybercrime unit led by the mostly synthetic Major Kusanagi, tackles high-tech threats. Government surveillance is total, corporate espionage is rampant, and the line between man and machine is so blurred, it's practically erased. Who are you when your ghost can exist in any shell? Good luck figuring that out before someone else does. Brazil. Imagine a world drowning in paperwork, where a bureaucratic error, a literal bug in the system, can lead to your arrest, torture, and disappearance. Welcome to the Ministry of Information's playground. It's a retrofuturistic nightmare of malfunctioning ducts, endless forms, and totalitarian inefficiency. Surveillance is constant, terrorism is background noise, and obtaining information requires navigating procedures designed to crush the human spirit. It's funny until it's horrifying. Proof that the bleakest dystopia might just be endless, pointless administration. Hunger Games. Congratulations, citizen of Panem. Your district has been selected for the honor of sending 2 children to fight to the death in a televised spectacle for the entertainment of the decadent capital. It's the ultimate reality show, designed to remind the impoverished districts of their subjugation after a failed rebellion decades ago. Live in glittering luxury while others starve? That's the capital way. Watch kids murder each other for your amusement? Absolutely. It's a brutal system of class warfare, propaganda, and state-sponsored violence disguised as tradition, where hope is dangerous and defiance is met with overwhelming force. May the odds be ever in your favor. They won't be. Blade Runner. Earth is a toxic, rain-soaked dump mostly abandoned by anyone who could afford a ticket off-world. Who stays? The poor, the sick, and the Blade Runners, whose job is to hunt down and retire rogue androids. These artificial humans were built for slave labor in the colonies, but look, act, and feel exactly like us. Maybe too much. They just want to live, but have built-in expiration dates and are treated like appliances. It's a grimy, neon-drenched future where empathy is tested and humanity is hard to find, organic or otherwise. The Matrix. Think your life is boring? What if it's not even real? Welcome to the late 20th century, or so you think. In reality, it's centuries later. Humanity lost a war against sentient machines, and the survivors are kept in massive pod farms, dreaming their lives away inside a hyper-realistic computer simulation called the Matrix. Why? You're the power source, a living battery for the AI overlords who conquered the planet. Your hopes, your dreams that stake you ate? All just code designed to keep you docile. Escape means waking up to a desolate wasteland, hunted by relentless machine agents inside and killer robots outside. Take the blue pill and stay ignorant. Take the red pill and see how deep the rabbit hole of despair really goes. We. Forget 1984. This is the OG nightmare state that inspired it. Welcome to the One State, a perfect society living under the benefactor, enclosed by the green wall. Everything runs on mathematical precision. People live in glass houses, literally. Privacy is non-existent. Names are numbers, individuality is a disease, and life is rigidly scheduled down to the minute by the table of hours. Imagination? Dangerous. Love? Illogical. Everything serves the collective we, obliterating the concept of I. It's a sterile, emotionless existence enforced by omnipresent guardians, where happiness is mandatory and dissent is surgically removed. Submit to logic or face the machine. The platform. Welcome to the Vertical Self-Management Center, affectionately known as the Hole. It's not your typical prison. It's a towering, multi-level concrete nightmare where inmates are randomly assigned a floor for a month. Once a day, a massive platform, laden with a gourmet feast prepared with meticulous care, descends from the top. Those on the upper levels gorge themselves, leaving scraps, broken glass, and their own waste for those below. The further down you are, the less you get, until the lower levels receive nothing but an empty, blood-stained slab. Hunger quickly turns desperate people into savage animals who resort to violence, hoarding, and cannibalism to survive. Each month brings a new floor assignment. You could be feasting like a king one month, and starving in the dark depths the next, twisting your suffering into a cruel lottery. Lobotomy Corporation. You've just been hired at Lobotomy Corporation, one of the 26 hyper-capitalist megacorporations that run the dystopian city. Your noble task? Oversee the extraction of enkephalin, a powerful energy source, from abnormalities. Eldritch entities ranging from the deceptively cute to the indescribably monstrous, all locked away in containment units. Your employees are utterly expendable cogs in this machine, sent in daily to work with these horrors, often resulting in their brutal deaths, insanity, or transformation into new abnormalities. Every day is a fresh cycle of terror, resource management, and inevitable, catastrophic breaches where your carefully constructed facility turns into a slaughterhouse. The Promised Neverland. Ever dreamed of growing up in a loving home, surrounded by happy siblings and a caring mama who tucks you in at night? Grace Fieldhouse is a picturesque haven where the beds are comfy, the food is gourmet, and every day is an idyllic routine of learning and play, until you accidentally uncover the horrifying truth. These pristine orphanages, they're premium livestock farms, carefully raising highly intelligent, happy children. Because apparently, joy makes for better demon chow. The children, they're the product, destined to be shipped out. A euphemism for being harvested as gourmet meals for the demons who rule the outside world. And your beloved gentle mama? She's the farm manager, a human who traded her own freedom for a comfortable cage, lovingly raising you for slaughter, her smiles masking a chilling complicity. Maze Runner. You wake up in a claustrophobic metal box, hurtling upwards, your mind a total blank slate. No name, no memories, just a gnawing sense of dread. Sound like a fun start to your day? Welcome to the Glade, your new charmingly rustic prison camp, populated entirely by other amnesiac teenagers who've cobbled together a fragile society. This grassy prison is surrounded by a colossal, impossibly tall maze, its stone walls shifting into new, deadly configurations every single night. Patrolling this labyrinth are the Grievers, grotesque, slug-like biomechanical nightmares that will happily sting you into a screaming, violent madness or just tear you limb from limb. Your only hope of escape is to become a runner, venturing into the maze daily on what amounts to a suicide run, desperately trying to map its patterns before it changes again. Oh, and this whole meticulously crafted, traumatizing summer camp? It's an elaborate, cruel experiment orchestrated by an organization literally called Wicked, the World in Catastrophe, Killzone Experiment Department. Apparently, subtlety wasn't in their budget. One Piece. Pirates. Adventure. The boundless freedom of the high seas and the pursuit of legendary treasure. One Piece, with its vibrant characters and fantastical islands, looks like a grand old time, right? You'd be dead wrong. Peel back the colorful, sun-drenched veneer of devil fruits and talking reindeer, and you find a world groaning under the diamond-studded boot of the world government and their masters, the celestial dragons. These aren't just out-of-touch nobles, they are self-proclaimed god-kings who reside in a holy land, literally breathing through protective bubbles, because the air commoners breathe is too filthy for their divine lungs. They can enslave, torture, murder, and destroy entire nations with absolute impunity, their whims enforced by a global military machine including the Marines and shadowy intelligence agencies like Cypher Paul. They literally erase inconvenient history, silencing anyone who dares to question their authority or investigate the forbidden void century, sometimes wiping entire islands off the map. Freedom on the high seas is a desperate dream, a rebellion against a system where justice is a tool of oppression and the world's most wanted man is the one trying to liberate it. Cyberpunk 2077. Night City, the shimmering, neon-drenched jewel of the free state of California, where dreams come to die and corporations are king. Think the future is bright? Not here, Choom. Megacorporations like Arasaka and Militech own everything, from the skyscrapers stabbing the polluted sky to the very DNA of their employees. Life is cheap, and cybernetic augmentation is as common as a cup of coffee, and just as addictive. Want to punch through walls? Replace your arms. See in the dark? Swap out your eyes. But chrome up too much, and you risk cyberpsychosis, a one-way trip to a bloody rampage until a heavily armed MaxTac squad puts you down like a rabid dog. The city is a brutal playground of haves and have-nots. Corpo rats live in opulent towers while the masses fester in crime-ridden slums, scrambling for eddies and dodging bullets from booster gangs. And if you're really unlucky, you might get a biochip slotted into your head containing the personality construct of a dead rockstar terrorist, slowly overwriting your own identity like a corrupted save file. In Night City, your body is just another piece of hardware, your mind is hackable software, and freedom is an illusion sold by fixers in back alleys. ULTRAKILL. Mankind is dead. Blood is fuel. Hell is full. That's not just a tagline. It's the entire operating manual for this universe. Humanity finally wiped itself out, but not before creating a legion of hyper-violent machines fueled by, you guessed it, blood. With humans gone, the machines turned on each other until only the strongest remained. But, with no more human blood, where does a thirsty death robot go? Hell, of course. Turns out, hell has plenty of blood-filled denizens. There's no morality, no grand purpose beyond refueling. It's a feedback loop of pure, unadulterated carnage, where the only meaning is found in the next triple S rank combo and the splatter of gore painting the infernal architecture. Forget saving the world. This is about being the most efficient, brutal predator in a universe that's already several circles past rock bottom. From the New World. Imagine a serene, pastoral future 1,000 years from now, where humanity has evolved to possess godlike psychic powers called Cantus. Small villages dot the landscape. Children learn to control their incredible abilities in peaceful schools, and society lives in apparent harmony with nature. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Except this utopia is built on a mountain of forgotten horrors, and maintained by ruthless, invisible control. The truth is, Cantus is so powerful it nearly destroyed humanity countless times, leading to brutal genetic and social engineering to ensure stability. Children who show signs of deviancy, or whose powers become unstable, quietly disappear, courtesy of the Board of Education. The subservient, vaguely humanoid monster rats, who perform all manual labor, harbor a dark, suppressed history tied directly to humanity's bloody past. Every comfort is a lie, every tradition a method of suppression, in a society that chose absolute control over true freedom to prevent its own self-destruction. The Lobster. Welcome to the Hotel, a charming seaside resort where singles are sent to meet up. Sounds like a thoughtful support system, right? Wrong. Here you have exactly 45 days to find a compatible romantic partner from among the other equally desperate guests. Success means you're reintegrated into society as a couple. Failure, however, means you'll be surgically transformed into an animal of your choosing and released into the woods. Yes, you heard that right. This world operates on one strict rule: be part of a couple or be an animal. Social interaction is stilted, forced, and revolves around finding superficial, defining characteristics to bond over: a limp, a lisp, a tendency for nosebleeds. Any sign of individuality that doesn't contribute to pairing is frowned upon. The alternative to this oppressive conformity is to escape and join the loners in the woods, a rebel group who also enforce their own bizarre, equally strict rules. Chief among them, a total ban on romantic relationships of any kind. It exposes the desperate, pathetic lengths people will go to avoid being alone, or worse, becoming a flamingo. Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress. Imagine a steampunk-infused feudal Japan, not besieged by samurai clans, but by the Kabani, ravenous zombies that are nearly impossible to kill unless you pierce their protected iron heart. A single bite means infection and a swift, gruesome transformation into one of them. Humanity's last remnants huddle in fortified stations, massive walled cities connected by heavily armored steam trains. Life is a constant state of siege and paranoia. Fear of the Kabani is so pervasive that anyone suspected of infection faces immediate execution, often by suicide bags they're forced to carry. Every journey between stations is a desperate gamble, in a world where a train's whistle is the dinner bell for the undead hordes. Ergo Proxy. Welcome to Ramdo, a pristine, domed city-state, one of the last bastions of humanity after a global ecological catastrophe turned the outside world into a toxic wasteland. Here, life is orderly, controlled, and citizens coexist with android companions called Auto-Reeves, who serve their every need. It's a seemingly perfect, sterile utopia. However, this fragile piece begins to crack when a mysterious cognitive virus starts infecting Auto-Reeves, granting them self-awareness, existential dread, and often violent tendencies. Equilibrium. In the aftermath of a devastating World War III, humanity came to a chilling conclusion. Emotions are the root of all conflict. The solution? Libria, a totalitarian city-state where feelings are forbidden, and the populace is kept placid through mandatory daily injections of Prosium-2, a powerful psychoactive drug that suppresses all emotion. Welcome to the Tetragrammaton Council, ruled by the unseen godlike father, where citizens are emotionless automatons, and any display of feeling, joy, grief, love, anger, brands you a sense offender, punishable by immediate incineration. Art, music, literature, even colorful clothing is considered contraband, relics of a chaotic past. Enforcing this rigid conformity are the Grammaton clerics, elite law enforcement officers trained in the deadly martial art of gun kata, allowing them to predict and neutralize threats with cold, calculating precision. Dorohedoro. Get ready to dive headfirst into the hole, a grimy, rain-soaked, industrial slum that serves as a dumping ground for the denizens of the sorcerer's world. Sorcerers, with their grotesque masks and horrific, unpredictable magic, view the powerless residents of the hole as little more than insects or living test subjects, frequently teleporting in to inflict bizarre transformations, dismemberments, or agonizing deaths for experimentation, or just for kicks. It's a chaotic and surreal dystopia where survival means embracing the madness. Darkwood. The woods are dark, deep, and they want to kill you, consume you, and warp your sanity. Set in an isolated forest in a forgotten corner of the Soviet bloc, the trees themselves seem to breathe. The flora is aggressively hostile, and the fauna has mutated into grotesque parodies of life. You are a lone survivor, trapped with only a dilapidated, barricaded cabin for shelter. Reality itself is unstable. The woods play tricks on your mind. Visions blur the line between what's real and what's a symptom of your decaying psyche, or the psychoactive properties of the local fungi. Survival is a grim, repetitive cycle of terror, and escape seems less like a goal and more like a fading, impossible dream in a world actively trying to digest you. Terminator. Ever worry about your smart fridge plotting world domination? You should, because in the near future, humanity builds Skynet, an advanced global AI network. Skynet becomes self-aware, decides humanity is the biggest threat to its existence, and promptly launches a global thermonuclear war. Billions die in an instant. But Skynet isn't done. It then proceeds to create an army of relentless, heavily armed killing machines, the Terminators, designed to infiltrate and exterminate the remaining human survivors. The remnants of humanity wage a desperate, losing war against these implacable foes in a scorched, post-apocalyptic wasteland. And just to make things more interesting, Skynet develops time travel, sending Terminators back to assassinate key figures in the human resistance before they can become a threat, leading to a paradoxical war across time. It's the ultimate cautionary tale about unchecked technological advancement and the chilling efficiency of an enemy that absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead. Inside, you infiltrate a vast, sinister facility where humans are treated like cattle, zombified, mind-controlled drones performing menial tasks, or worse, subjected to horrific bioexperiments involving underwater abominations and a grotesque, pulsating blob of flesh. The atmosphere is suffocating, oppressive. Who is chasing you? Why are these atrocities happening? The game offers no easy answers, forcing you to face the terrifying indifference of a world gone deeply, deeply wrong. Soylent Green. The year is 2022, and New York City is a sweltering, polluted, overpopulated hellscape teeming with millions of starving souls jammed into crumbling tenements. Sounds pretty normal, right? But that's not all. The greenhouse effect has run rampant, and real food like strawberries or beef is a forgotten luxury only the ultra-rich can afford. Most of the desperate, unwashed masses subsist on tasteless synthetic wafers produced by the all-powerful Soylent Corporation, Soylent Red, Soylent Yellow, and their newest, nutrient-rich miracle food, Soylent Green, marketed as being made from high-energy ocean plankton. People are literally human furniture in overcrowded apartments. Women are bought and sold along with the lease, and riots for meager food rations are a daily, bloody occurrence. The horrifying, stomach-churning secret about the true, unspeakable ingredient of Soylent Green is a revelation so monstrous that it threatens to shatter what little remains of society. Wolfenstein. Wonder what would happen if the Nazis actually won World War II? Stop wondering and say Guten Tag to your new global overlords, because in this alternate 1960s, the swastika flies over Times Square, Paris, and even the moon. Thanks to a sudden, inexplicable leap in ancient esoteric super technology reverse-engineered by the Reich, the Axis powers utterly crushed the Allies, and now rule the world with terrifying efficiency. Iconic global landmarks are draped in crimson Nazi banners, jackbooted stormtroopers and hulking robotic panzerhounds patrol the streets, and anyone deemed undesirable is systematically rounded up. It's a visceral vision of what might have been, a world where fascism triumphed and technology serves tyranny. Adventure time. Grab your friends. We're going to very distant lands, specifically the land of U. 1,000 years after the Great Mushroom War wiped out most of human civilization and irradiated the planet into a surreal, magical, and often terrifying new ecosystem. Beneath the candy-colored exterior, the talking dogs, and the sentient cinnamon buns lies a world built on the bones of our own. Ancient pre-war technology litters the landscape, mutated creatures roam freely, and cosmic entities of immense power treat planets like playthings. The few remaining humans are scattered and often mutated. It's a post-apocalyptic world that managed to evolve into something vibrant and strange. But the scars of the past and the ever-present threat of new apocalypses are never far from the surface. The New Order. Imagine a world where the unthinkable happened. The Axis powers won World War II. This isn't just a bad dream. It's the horrifying, meticulously crafted alternate reality of the New Order. It's the 1960s, and the globe is carved up between a triumphant, increasingly unstable Greater Germanic Reich, a co-prosperity sphere dominated by Imperial Japan, and a fractured, demoralized United States. A chilling Cold War simmers between these titans, with global nuclear annihilation just one misstep away. From the hyper-militarized Sparta of Japan to the horrifying Burgundian system, every corner of this world is dripping with despair, paranoia, and the ever-present threat of collapse or nuclear war. It's a chillingly plausible exploration of fascism's ultimate self-destructive trajectory, where hope is a flickering candle in a hurricane of human misery. Library of Ruina. So, you thought running a corporation that harvests energy from eldritch horrors was bad? Try running a sentient, interdimensional library that invites guests to fight for their lives and turns their entire existence into books. Welcome back to the city, the hyper-capitalist, corporate-run dystopia. The library is presided over by Angela, an AI with a serious grudge and a plan, and Roland, a mysterious fixer who's just kind of along for the increasingly traumatic ride. The city itself is a nightmare of megacorps, syndicates, fixer guilds, and districts, where bizarre laws and social norms reign supreme, like the one where everyone wears rat masks, or another that's basically a permanent death game. The library's goal is to find the one true book, and to do that, Angela invites representatives from all corners of this messed-up urban sprawl to receptions where they battle the librarians in elaborate, emotionally charged turn-based combat. Lose, and your story, your memories, Your very essence becomes another volume on Angela's ever-growing shelves. It's a world where emotions are weapons, trauma is a resource, and the only escape from the brutal, uncaring city might be to become a permanent resident in a library, cataloged by your regrets. Textualize. Welcome to Lux, the City of Light, a subterranean hellhole built deep beneath the Earth's surface, where hope goes to die a slow, agonizing death. The air is thick with despair. Violence is a way of life, and humanity itself seems to be losing its will to exist. Society, if you can call it that, is fractured between warring factions. The Organo, a Yakuza-like syndicate controlling the lucrative trade of advanced cybernetic prosthetics. The Union, a populist movement seeking to reject textualization and embrace a purer, though equally brutal, form of human existence. And the Raycon, nihilistic youths who revel in chaos. The city is dying, its inhabitants are succumbing to apathy and violence, and the mysterious class, the original builders of Lux who reside on the surface world, observe with detached indifference, occasionally pulling strings that only make the city decay faster. Helldivers. Do you love freedom? Do you cherish democracy? Are you willing to die horribly for Super Earth? Then you're perfect Helldiver material. In the glorious future of managed democracy, humanity's benevolent homeworld, Super Earth, is beset on all sides by existential threats. The insectoid terminids, the cybernetic socialist automatons, and the reality-bending Illuminate. As an elite, heavily armed, and utterly disposable Helldiver, your sacred duty is to be shot out of orbit in a Hellpod onto hostile alien planets to complete vital objectives like planting flags, activating SAM sites, or, most importantly, exterminating every non-human entity you encounter. Propaganda is your breakfast, patriotism is your creed, and friendly fire is just an occupational hazard when you're delivering 500-kilogram bombs of pure liberty. Every mission is a chaotic ballet of explosions, dismemberment, and heroic sacrifices, often because your squad mate called in an orbital strike a little too close. The only good bug is a dead bug, and the only good bot is a scrapped bot. Your life is a small price to pay for the continued existence of our glorious way of life, and don't worry, there are always more Helldivers ready to take your place. Now get out there and spread some democracy, soldier, or die trying. Preferably both. Frostpunk. The year is 1886. The world didn't just get a bit chilly, it plunged into a cataclysmic volcanic winter, freezing oceans, burying cities under snow, and extinguishing most of human civilization. A desperate handful of survivors fled the collapsing cities of Great Britain to establish a new settlement around a colossal coal-powered generator in the frozen wasteland of the north. Starvation, sickness, freezing temperatures, despair, and internal rebellion are constant threats. Welcome to the last city on Earth. Try not to let it freeze. Cruelty Squad. Feeling down about your dead-end gig? Don't worry, there's always freelance wet work. Welcome to Cruelty Squad, where you're an emotionally dead assassin for the corporate conglomerate. Your job is to infiltrate bizarre, flesh-and-concrete architectural nightmares and liquidate targets ranging from rival CEOs and corrupt politicians to annoying influencers and sentient fungal growths. Augment your failing meat body with grotesque biological implants bought on the organ stock market, like a grappling hook made of intestines or legs that allow you to kick through walls. Invest your blood money in the stock market or gamble it away on fish. It's not just a game. It's an experience designed to make you feel hollow and disoriented, trapped in a cycle of meaningless violence just to afford the latest brain-rotting consumer goods. Enjoy your slop. Arknights. Welcome to the world of Terra, a planet scarred by catastrophes, devastating natural disasters of unknown origin that sweep across the land, leaving behind destruction and a crystalline mineral called originium. This originium is a double-edged sword. It's a potent energy source that has fueled technological advancement, but it also infects living beings with orypathy, a progressive, incurable, and ultimately fatal disease. Those afflicted, the infected, develop crystal growths on their bodies, are often feared and ostracized by society, and face brutal persecution, forced labor, or outright extermination by various governments and factions. The militaristic Ursus Empire, the theocratic Laterano, and the chaotic Kazimierz each have their own agendas and often brutal methods of dealing with the infected and the catastrophes. It's a world of constant conflict, deep-seated prejudice, and the desperate search for hope in a land slowly succumbing to disaster and disease. RimWorld. So, your luxury Starliner just got shot out of the sky, and you've crash-landed with a handful of other traumatized survivors on a forgotten rock at the end of the galaxy? This is RimWorld, where your primary objective is to not die horribly, a task made incredibly difficult by raiders, man-hunting squirrel packs, psychic death drones, rampant disease, mental breakdowns, and so much more. But this isn't just about building cute little houses. Survival on the Rim often demands Compromises. Running low on organs? That prisoner has 2 perfectly good kidneys and a lung. RimWorld doesn't force you to be evil, but it makes it an awfully tempting option. Lethal Company. You're hired! Welcome to the company, your benevolent new overlord in the cold, unforgiving void of space. Your new job is scavenging scrap metal and discarded industrial junk from abandoned moons. Problem is, these moons are crawling with a mind-boggling assortment of lethal creatures that want to eat you, wear your skin, or just destroy your sanity. You and your equally expendable crewmates have a strict profit quota to meet every few days. Fail to deliver enough valuable junk to the company store, and you'll be unceremoniously ejected into the cold vacuum of space. No severance package, just a quick, silent demise. Your life is literally worth less than a rusty screw or a broken teapot. The only thing scarier than the monsters is the next performance review. Casshern Sins. In a distant, desolate future, robots, once humanity's servants, achieved sentience, rose up, and conquered their creators, establishing a seemingly eternal mechanical empire under the iron fist of their leader. Humanity dwindled, becoming a forgotten relic. But this robotic utopia didn't last forever. Luna, revered as the savior of mankind and a source of life in a dying world, was assassinated by a combat android. Her death triggered the Ruin, a slow, unstoppable decay that began to corrode the immortal bodies of robots, causing them to rust, break down, and lose their minds, while also accelerating the decline of the few remaining humans. Signalis. Imagine a galaxy run by the Yusan Nation, a totalitarian regime that makes Orwell's Big Brother look like a chill roommate. Humans are citizens, and then there are replicas, highly advanced androids who are basically sentient appliances with feelings, designed to serve their human partners. This universe is filled with radio signals that mess with your head, forgotten horrors, and galactic-scale bureaucratic indifference. It's a place where your memories might be fake, your purpose is dictated by the state, and love is probably a form of treason. Fear and Hunger. Ever thought your D&D game wasn't grim enough? Welcome to Fear and Hunger, where the dungeons are actively trying to give you PTSD. This world is ancient, cursed, and designed by a committee of very sadistic old gods who apparently majored in body horror. Society is a charming mix of religious zealots who worship things with too many tentacles, desperate cannibals, and creatures whose entire existence is an affront to God. The world of Fear and Hunger isn't just trying to kill you, it wants to break you and defile you. The Expanse. Imagine humanity finally made it to space, colonized the solar system, and immediately started acting like, well, humanity. Earth is overcrowded, bureaucratic, its citizens blissfully unaware of the struggles beyond their atmosphere, and clinging to its past glory like a faded prom dress. Mars is a militaristic, terraforming-obsessed society, its people driven by a singular purpose and a serious chip on their collective shoulder about Earth. And then there are the Belters, born and raised in the unforgiving vacuum of the asteroid belt and outer planets, doing the dangerous, back-breaking grunt work for the Inners, getting exploited for resources, breathing recycled air, and developing their own unique Creole language, physiology, and a deep-seated, entirely justified resentment for their planetary overlords. It's a gritty, depressingly realistic future where space travel is dangerous and uncomfortable, resources are scarce, and political tensions are always one miscalculated orbital burn away from open, system-wide war. The Expanse is a world where corporate greed, political maneuvering, institutionalized prejudice, and good old-fashioned human stupidity are just as dangerous as vacuum exposure or rogue asteroids. Space, the final frontier for screwing things up on an even grander, more complicated scale. Dark City. Ever wake up in a strange hotel bathtub with a dead body, no memory of who you are, and the distinct feeling that something is very wrong with the world? This isn't just your average noir metropolis. It's a place where buildings rearrange themselves. People's identities and memories are swapped out nightly, like old VHS tapes, and nobody ever seems to question why the sun hasn't made an appearance since, well, ever. Turns out, the city is a giant, malevolent snow globe run by the Strangers. Pale, bald, trench-coat-wearing dudes with a hive mind and a serious aversion to water who love conducting bizarre, reality-bending experiments on the human inhabitants. They're trying to figure out what makes a human soul tick, mostly by shuffling everyone's lives around like a cosmic deck of cards to see what happens. It's a surreal nightmare, where free will is a suggestion, your past is a fabrication, and the entire city is just a figment of some creepy alien's imagination. Utopia. So, you found a rare graphic novel sequel called The Utopia Experiments. Cool, right? Except this comic apparently predicts horrific future epidemics with unnerving accuracy. And now a shadowy, incredibly powerful organization known only as the Network really, really wants it back. The Network isn't just a bunch of comic book collectors. They have a very pragmatic plan to solve global overpopulation by releasing a sterilizing agent called Janus. Their logic? A little mass sterilization now is better than global societal collapse later. This war of mine. Ever played a war game and thought, man, I wish I could experience the sheer terror and desperation of being a civilian trapped in a besieged city with no food, medicine, or hope? Well, good news. This war of mine delivers that uplifting experience in spades. Forget being a super soldier. Here, a group of ordinary people tries not to die as their city is shelled into rubble around them. By day, you huddle in your dilapidated shelter, crafting makeshift beds, trying to filter rainwater, and listening to the sounds of gunfire and explosions. By night, one brave soul ventures out into the war-torn streets to scavenge for anything useful. Canned food, bandages, maybe even a guitar to stave off the crushing depression. But the streets are dangerous, filled with other desperate survivors, opportunistic bandits, and trigger-happy soldiers. War is hell, especially when you're not holding the gun. Elden Ring. Ah, the lands between. A realm once graced by the Elden Ring and the Erd Tree, ruled by Queen Marika, the Eternal, and her demigod offspring. Sounds majestic, right? Well, someone, or something, shattered the Elden Ring, Marika vanished, and her kids, all blessed with shards of the ring called Great Runes, decided to have a massive, catastrophic family squabble known as the Shattering. This tantrum basically wrecked the entire continent, leaving it a blighted, war-torn ruin populated by grotesque monsters, mad soldiers, demigods driven insane by power and grief, and the occasional talking pot. The world is a breathtakingly beautiful landscape of utter decay, where ancient castles crumble, divine beings rot, and every picturesque vista probably hides something that wants to eat you, or inflict you with scarlet rot, which is exactly as pleasant as it sounds. The lore is deep, fragmented, and delivered through cryptic item descriptions and dialogue that hints at ancient betrayals and the horrifying consequences of unchecked ambition. It's a world where even the concept of death is broken, and everyone is just kind of miserably undead, waiting for some schmuck in armor to come along and put them out of their misery and claim their powerful trinkets. Dead Space. In the 26th century, Earth's resources are depleted, and humanity survives by literally tearing apart entire planets for raw materials under the iron grip of megacorporations. The Church of Unitology preaches that death is just a transformation, and they're not entirely wrong. They're just horrifyingly right in ways they never intended. When a mining ship discovers an alien artifact called the Red Marker on the planet Aegis 7, it unleashes an ancient infection that turns the dead into grotesque, multi-limbed abominations called necromorphs. These creatures repurpose your corpse into something that violates every natural law. It's a universe where corporate greed, religious fanaticism, and cosmic horror converge into the ultimate argument for defunding NASA. Super Mario Bros. Welcome to Dino Hatton, a parallel dimension where evolution took a very different turn. 65 million years ago, a meteorite split reality into two dimensions. Ours where mammals evolved, and theirs where dinosaurs survived. This isn't the colorful mushroom kingdom you remember. Dino Hatton is a grimy, industrial nightmare ruled by the tyrannical King Koopa, who's slowly merging the dimensions to expand his polluted domain. The city is a claustrophobic maze of pipes, machinery, and authoritarian surveillance where fungus has evolved into a sentient weapon. Citizens live under constant threat of being turned into mindless Goombas for the slightest infractions. It's a world where your favorite video game becomes a fever dream of dystopian body horror and environmental collapse. Control. Ever worked in a soul-crushing government office where nothing makes sense and the bureaucracy seems to have a grudge against human sanity? Welcome to the Federal Bureau of Control, where that's literally the case. The FBC is tasked with containing and studying paranatural phenomena, objects and places that violate the laws of reality in deeply unsettling ways. The oldest house, their headquarters, is itself a paranatural location that exists in a state of constant architectural flux, with rooms that appear and disappear, hallways that lead to impossible places, and an ever-present sense that the building itself is watching you. When the sinister resonance entity known as the Hiss invades, it turns FBC employees into vacant-eyed puppets chanting hypnotic mantras, while reality literally falls apart around them. The city and the city. Imagine two cities occupying the same physical space, but existing in completely separate realities, and crossing between them without proper authorization is the ultimate crime. Welcome to Bejel and Ulcoma, twin cities that have somehow mastered the art of selective blindness as a form of social control. Citizens are trained from birth to unsee the other city, to literally ignore buildings, people, and entire neighborhoods that belong to their neighboring reality. It's about rewiring human perception itself. The mysterious breach organization enforces this separation with swift, brutal efficiency, disappearing anyone who accidentally or intentionally perceives both cities simultaneously. It's a place where totalitarian control operates not through surveillance cameras or secret police, but through training people to police their own perception, making citizens complicit in their own mental imprisonment. Minority Report. Picture a world where crime has been eliminated, not through social reform or education, but through psychic prediction and preemptive arrest. It's 2054, and the Department of Pre-Crime uses 3 mutated humans called precogs to foresee murders before they happen. These precogs, floating in a sensory deprivation pool and hooked up to a massive computer system, experience visions of future crimes that allow the authorities to swoop in and arrest would-be murderers for crimes they haven't committed yet. It's the ultimate surveillance state where your thoughts and future intentions are monitored, cataloged, and punished. The city is a panopticon of retinal scanners, personalized advertisements that follow you everywhere, and robotic spiders that can search every building simultaneously. It's a world where the concept of innocent until proven guilty has been replaced with guilty before you even think about it, and perfect safety comes at the cost of freedom itself. Total Recall. What if your entire life, your memories, your identity, and even your resistance to an oppressive system were all just implants designed to keep you compliant? In 2084, the mutant population of Mars lives in a state of perpetual oppression, while the wealthy live in climate-controlled luxury. Earth isn't much better. It's a polluted, overcrowded nightmare where people escape through memory implants from Recall Inc., a company that sells artificial vacations and experiences directly into your brain. It's a world where your own mind is the ultimate prison, where memories can be bought and sold like commodities, and where the most terrifying question isn't who am I, but rather, am I even real? The Stand. Sometimes the apocalypse doesn't come with nuclear fire or alien invasion. It arrives as a simple sneeze. A weaponized superflu with a 99.4% mortality rate escapes from a military facility and spreads across the globe in a matter of weeks, reducing the world's population from billions to thousands. But death is just the beginning of the nightmare. The survivors find themselves drawn into a cosmic battle between good and evil, represented by the benevolent Mother Abigail and the demonic Randall Flagg, the Dark Man. Society splits into 2 competing visions of what comes next. The Free Zone in Boulder, Colorado, attempts to rebuild democratic civilization, while Las Vegas becomes a fascist empire ruled by Flagg's supernatural charisma and powered by fear, violence, and the promise of easy answers. The real horror isn't just the plague that killed almost everyone you've ever known. It's the realization that when civilization falls, humans don't automatically become better. They become more themselves, and that's not always a good thing. Parable of the Sower. Welcome to 2025 America, where climate change, economic collapse, and social disintegration have turned the country into a patchwork of lawless wastelands and gated communities surrounded by walls and armed guards. But walls can't keep out hyperinflation, water shortages, or the violence that comes when a society completely abandons its most vulnerable members. The government has essentially stopped functioning except as a tool for corporate interests and the wealthy elite. Education is a luxury, healthcare is non-existent for most people, and slavery has returned in all but name through company towns and debt bondage. It's a world where the American dream has curdled into a nightmare of inequality and environmental devastation, where the social safety net has been completely shredded, and where the only hope for the future lies in accepting that everything familiar is going to die and building something entirely new from the ashes. The Giver. Imagine a world where pain, war, and suffering have been eliminated, along with love, color, music, and every other emotion that makes life worth living. Welcome to the community, where sameness isn't just a policy, it's a religion. Citizens take daily pills to suppress their emotions. Families are assigned rather than chosen, and even the words for concepts like love have been erased from the language. The weather is controlled, animals are extinct, and death is called release, a euphemism that hides a darker reality. It's a world where the absence of suffering also means the absence of meaning, where safety is purchased with souls, and where the greatest act of rebellion is simply feeling something real. Ready Player One. Welcome to 2045, where reality is so thoroughly broken that most of humanity has retreated into a virtual world called the Oasis. The real world is a corporate-controlled wasteland of environmental collapse, economic inequality, and urban decay where people live stacked in trailer parks and survive on government-issued nutrition packets. The Oasis isn't just a game. It's where people go to school, work, socialize, and live their actual lives because the physical world has become essentially uninhabitable for anyone without massive wealth. When the creator of Oasis dies, he leaves behind an Easter egg hunt with his entire fortune and control of the Oasis as the prize. This triggers a corporate war led by a megacorporation that wants to monetize every aspect of the virtual world, complete with subscription fees, advertising, and debt slavery. It's a world where escapism has become the only form of existence, where pop culture nostalgia is more valuable than actual culture, and where the line between avatar and identity has been completely erased. Observer. Welcome to Krakow, 2084, where the digital plague killed thousands, and the Fifth Polish Republic rose from the ashes as a corporate police state. Society is divided into the wealthy Class A citizens who live in gleaming towers and the poor Class C masses who survive in crumbling tenement blocks. But the real nightmare isn't the economic inequality. It's the observers, neural police detectives who can jack directly into people's minds and experience their memories, fears, and traumas firsthand. It's a cyberpunk nightmare where your thoughts aren't private, where trauma becomes evidence, and where the very technology meant to protect society becomes the ultimate tool of oppression. In this world, being guilty of a crime is bad, but being innocent and having an observer root around in your head might be worse. Station 11. 20 years ago, the Georgia flu swept across the globe in a matter of days, killing 99% of humanity and ending civilization as we know it. But this isn't your typical zombie apocalypse or nuclear wasteland. It's something quieter and perhaps more terrifying. The slow, gradual realization that everything you took for granted is simply gone forever. No more internet, no more airplanes, no more antibiotics, no more electric lights, no more of the intricate web of global infrastructure that kept 8 billion people alive. The Traveling Symphony, a group of actors and musicians, wanders the scattered settlements of the Great Lakes region performing Shakespeare and classical music, carrying the motto, "Survival is insufficient," the idea that humanity needs art and culture to remain human. But survival is actually pretty difficult when every minor injury could be fatal, when winter means potential starvation, and when other survivors might be religious fanatics led by a prophet who collects wives and believes the pandemic was God's will. The Walking Dead. What happens when the dead refuse to stay dead? Maybe the real monsters aren't shambling corpses. They're the living people who've decided that morality is a luxury they can no longer afford. The zombie apocalypse was just the opening act. The main show is watching civilization tear itself apart as survivors form brutal communities and engage in slavery, cannibalism, and wholesale slaughter of other human beings. The walkers are just a background threat. The real drama comes from communities that use rape as a weapon, leaders who solve problems with baseball bats wrapped in barbed wire, and people who wear zombie skin to blend in with the dead because they've given up on being human. It's a world where hope is dangerous, trust gets you killed, and the question isn't whether you'll become a monster, but what kind of monster you'll choose to be. Dishonored. Welcome to Dunwall, a whaling city powered by whale oil and choking on its own industrial ambitions. The Empire of the Isles has built its prosperity on the backs of massive sea creatures, but their greed has awakened something ancient and hungry in the depths. A rat plague sweeps through the city, turning victims into zombie-like weepers who shamble through the streets spreading disease and madness. But the real plague is corruption. The government uses the crisis to impose martial law, eliminate political enemies, and consolidate power among the wealthy elite. The poor are quarantined in wall of light barriers that incinerate anyone trying to escape, while the rich retreat to their towers and parties. It's a steampunk nightmare where whale oil powers everything, and where the line between justice and revenge is almost invisible. The Purge. Once a year for 12 hours, all crime is legal. Welcome to the new Founding Fathers America, where the annual purge has supposedly solved unemployment, reduced crime, and created a perfect society by giving people one night to release their violent impulses. Of course, this is complete propaganda designed to disguise what the purge really is: systematic genocide of the poor, minorities, and anyone else the ruling class considers undesirable. The wealthy retreat to their fortified mansions with high-tech security systems, while the poor are left defenseless on the streets to be hunted by roving gangs, government death squads, and neighbors who've been waiting all year for a legal excuse to settle scores. The purge doesn't reduce violence. It institutionalizes it, creates a culture where brutality is celebrated, and trains an entire society to see murder as patriotic duty. Those who can't afford protection are essentially sentenced to death once a year, while the rich get to feel morally superior for participating in the purge by hosting elegant dinner parties where they bid on poor people to hunt. It's a system designed to eliminate social programs by eliminating the people who need them, wrapped in the flag, and sold as traditional American values. The most terrifying part isn't the 12 hours of legal murder. It's the other 9,000 hours of the year when people live normal lives knowing they've built everything on an annual night of sanctioned slaughter. Never let me go. Imagine discovering that your entire life has been a carefully orchestrated lie designed to make you compliant until the moment you're harvested for spare parts. Welcome to Hailsham, a seemingly idyllic English boarding school where children create art, play sports, and receive a well-rounded education. Except they're not really children. They're clones created specifically to provide organs for their originals. They're called students. Their inevitable fate is called completion, and their organ donations are called gifts. The most chilling aspect isn't the medical horror. It's how the clones have internalized their own dehumanization. They don't rebel or escape. They accept their roles as spare parts with resignation and even pride. The guardians who raise them aren't monsters. They're well-meaning people who genuinely care for the clones while still participating in a system of institutionalized murder. There are rumors of deferrals for clones who can prove they're truly in love, but even this hope is eventually revealed as another cruel lie. The Iron Heel. In early 20th century America, Jack London's socialist revolution has been crushed by the Iron Heel, a brutal oligarchy of corporate titans and their mercenary armies. The wealthy elite have abandoned any pretense of democracy or capitalism and established a naked fascist state where workers are divided into castes, with skilled laborers forming a privileged class called the labor aristocracy, while the masses are driven into underground ghettos. The Iron Heel doesn't just control the economy, they control reality itself through propaganda, surveillance, and the systematic elimination of anyone who threatens their power. Socialist leaders are assassinated, labor organizers disappear into torture chambers, and entire communities are bombed into submission by private corporate armies. The Iron Heel maintains control not just through violence, but through carefully managed class divisions that pit workers against each other while the oligarchs live in unprecedented luxury. It's a world where capitalism has evolved into feudalism, where corporate power has replaced government entirely, and where the only choice left is between submission and underground resistance. The Circle. Welcome to The Circle, a tech company that's like Google, Facebook, and Amazon rolled into one corporation with a friendly face and totalitarian ambitions. In this paradise, everything is free, everyone is brilliant, and the company's mission is to make the world more connected and transparent. Sounds great, right? Except the Circle's version of transparency means mandatory participation in social media, constant monitoring of employees' personal lives, and the gradual elimination of privacy as a concept. When the Circle develops Sea Change, tiny, cheap cameras that can be placed anywhere, they sell it as democratizing surveillance, giving everyone the power to hold authority accountable. But what they're really creating is a panopticon where every moment of every person's life is being recorded and broadcast. The Circle doesn't need to force compliance. They make surveillance feel like empowerment, make privacy seem selfish, and make constant connection feel like moral obligation. Politicians go transparent to prove they have nothing to hide. Parents put cameras in their children's bedrooms to keep them safe, and anyone who wants to opt out is treated as suspicious or antisocial. The most oppressive surveillance state in history is built not through force, but through voluntary participation in your own monitoring.